Hey, what's up, guys? Matthew here with Transcendent Films.
Hey, what's up, guys? Mitch here with Transcendent Films as well.
All right, guys. So the first trailer for Spider-Man Homecoming just premiered on Jimmy Kimmel. I'm actually glad that they did it at the beginning because I could not freaking stand Jimmy Kimmel. I hate him with a
No,
passion.
I'm not a fan of Jimmy Kimmel, so I'm happy they didn't hold that shit off like they did with the Transformers trailer. They took forever to release that.
That was pretty nuts. But oh my god, this trailer hit all the right notes for me.
Hmm.
I wasn't entirely over the top. I wasn't like shook to my core by anything, but it was, as a teaser goes, this was really, really good.
Yeah,
Especially with all the moments with Tony Stark. I think that it was really good. It obviously shows that Tony Stark is going to play a pretty substantial role in this, or maybe not substantial, but like important role in this, with Peter becoming a superhero and also dealing with high school at the same time, wanting to be recognized as a superhero. So I think it hit all the right notes. They didn't show much of the villain, but there were some
no,
select lines that they had said.
yeah, and they
That
gave
like,
us a glimpse. It's Michael Keaton is playing
mhm,
the Vulture in this movie. We gave him some glimpses. And Matt, I know that you are not completely in love with the Vulture as a villain,
mhm,
but we talked earlier, and I think that of all the people to cast, I think Michael Keaton's a
mhm.
fantastic cast for this particular role. I think he's going to pull it off very well. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. I think perfect. I mean, there was like that one line that he said that where he was just like, you cross me and I'm gonna kill you and everyone you know. And to me, that was like probably the most menacing I've ever really heard a villain
Hmm.
in like any of these Marvel movies, because Michael Keaton is such a good actor that like
Yeah,
one line from him, he can like completely like he's like
change
he
the whole
steals the
tone. Yeah.
show in a
Hmm.
lot of ways. But like the way that this trailer started off was like perfect. Like you have like Spider-Man showing off that he's a badass, but at the same time he's witty, he's funny. I mean, it's obviously showing that like he's still like growing from Civil War. He's learning how to become a superhero, like his timing, what he can say. Like he's dealing with real dangerous people, and like he's starting to discover that. Like, yeah, he
Yeah.
has these superpowers and all that, but like because he has those, he doesn't really have like this realization that, yeah, what he's doing is dangerous. Yeah, he's fighting criminals. And so he's starting to learn that, especially with the Vulture. And I think that
Yeah. And the
while
one
I'm
thing I
not
noticed, one thing I noticed about this trailer as I was watching it was it felt very similar to the Andrew Garfield canon, like the comedy, especially like his character felt a lot like that canon of Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield. Like the comedy felt similar, um, and he feels like he plays the role similarly, which I think is a good thing because I think Andrew Garfield probably played my most favorite Spider-Man. I thought he was very good, and he had a good mixture of comedy, and he also was a very emotional actor. I love Tobey Maguire, but I think Andrew Garfield was probably my favorite. So I think that's good to play to those strengths that Andrew Garfield had, and it felt like very similar in this trailer. Um, Now I wasn't as blown like when I watched the Transformers trailer. It hit a note. This didn't like hit the same sort of note in me, but I thought it was a very good trailer, and it showed a lot, and I'm excited to see it.
mhm.
Um, and I'm also excited to see Michael Keaton how that plays out, and also Donald Glover's in it, and I'm interested to see how he fits in exactly. If he's going to be a villain or maybe a friend, maybe he plays a friend like a high school friend or
Yeah, that's
something.
that's what I was thinking, is that Donald Glover's going to play basically probably someone he goes to high school with, or maybe somebody that's in college. But I don't
Yeah,
think he's going to play a villain. I think potential maybe down the road, but it depends on what character he's playing.
exactly. Yeah,
But like when it came to the Vulture, when Vulture was on screen, I thought like overall his design, the way that he moved, this villain, I actually really like. I like his overall
mhm.
design. I think that because you can't go with the design from the comics, because he is one of the goofiest looking villains
Yeah.
in like all of Marvel comics. Is that
I think it's so
he's
funny how he was in Birdman and he played essentially the character he's playing now in this movie is the same as what Birdman's character was like in that movie. I
except
think
for
it's kind
like
of
as
funny.
a villain though.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like it's very
Yeah.
similar, and I think it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I
Um,
I thought about that earlier, but like, what was I mean, like, obviously Iron Man is going to be in this. We knew that Tony Stark was going to be in this, but now we know that Iron Man is going to
I
be in
think
it,
I think
and
that's
I
really good for this film because that's going to pull a lot of people in because that's a pretty beloved character. So I think that if they really want to hit the ground running with this series, that's a pretty good move on their part is to include Tony Stark
and the
in
humor.
this movie.
Yeah, and the humor in this trailer was like spot on. It was
Mhm.
really good. It was like, and also like it felt like high school humor. Obviously,
Yeah,
obviously it's no Edge of 17. They can't do an Edge of 17 with this type of
no,
with this type of movie, but at least it's in line with that. It felt like, yeah, they're kids. They're like growing up.
There's a shot where his friend is sitting, and I think he's holding like a Lego construction of the Millennium Falcon, and he just drops it, and it just shattered. And I thought that was pretty funny because like they're kind of nerdy. But the one thing I loved is it looked like there's gonna be a lot more technology mixed in with this Spider-Man, because with the Tobey Maguire one, it was mostly just like abilities that he gained. Andrew Garfield, there's a little more technology, and it seems like this one has even more of it. Like we saw, he had like a wingsuit almost built into his suit, and then he had the spider button on his chest that he hit, and that would like disengage this suit. And it looks like there's a lot more technology built in with this suit and stuff, which I'm excited to see, because I wasn't completely thrilled with the whole like natural ability thing of the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. It seemed kind of strange to me, but I like the technology aspect of it too.
Yeah, well. I mean that's in my opinion. I mean, I think that's like really the perfect way of going at it. And like they solved like basically what everybody like. This is one of the stupidest, like one of the most stupid quirks or like little nitpicky things that everybody always has about these movies. But like, you're telling me that Peter Parker has like world-class like sewing skills. He made his own suit and it looks incredible and all that. But that being said, this is the best looking suit. I mean, it's a lot
aesthetically, it's really pleasing. Yeah.
A lot of it is CG, but like when it's actually a practical suit, it looks really cool. But also the fact that Tony Stark made the suit works a lot better for me. Or like as a fan for it, because like I'm like, okay, that makes more sense. That's a great way of fitting him into the universe. That's a great way of showing off his origins, having Tony Stark in this movie, because this was originally not in Robert Downey Jr.'s original contract, and then a few years ago, but like I think around the same time they did Phase 2, they were renegotiating contracts, and they didn't know if they were going to get Robert Downey Jr. back, and this wasn't part of his new contract, but they still got him in.
I think it's something to do with how they brought in the new Spider-Man and Tom Holland into Civil War. I think that played a factor in this spin-off, since like Tony Stark played a pretty pivotal role in convincing him to join and getting him in. So maybe they just wanted to continue that, because it looks like there might be some backstory like before he joined the Avengers. Maybe this movie might touch on. I'm not really sure exactly the time frame. Is this like
this okay? So the time frame of this movie takes place after Civil War. There's most likely going to be some parts that take place before Civil War, where he's actually. Maybe some flashbacks, or maybe the beginning of the movie takes place before, and then maybe later on during the movie. I don't know exactly, but the majority of this movie is definitely going to be after Civil War, with him dealing with his powers, with him dealing with him basically being a known superhero per se, and him growing with his powers, but also growing in high school. And I think that's the perfect notes to hit, because
I like the aspect that because in like the first two Spider-Man canons that we had, like the character was always wanting to like hide who he was, and this one they're taking the opposite direction. He really wants people to know, like he wants to be known, but he doesn't want it to be like, it's weird, but like he really has that like urge to be like significant. I think that's a good way to take the character,
and that's more in line with the young version of like younger first starting out Spider-Man from the comics, is that he was like, he's exactly like how Tom Holland and how the writers are writing him. He's just like, he's very naive, he's very unknowing about this, he doesn't have a lot of realizations, and he's kind of cocky, and so he wants to be like this kind of glorified kind of hero, but he wants to show himself up. Obviously he has a heart of gold. He does want to do the right thing. Out of all the superheroes, he's probably the most innocent. He's probably the one who's most willing to do good, but he does have that, like, he wants like the spotlight on him at the same time, and he's very cocky. And I mean, that's perfect for Spider-Man. This is the most perfect iteration of Spider-Man thus far, and with this trailer, it's reassurance for me.
At least from that trailer, I think it's going to be a very good movie. I think Tom Holland's going to be great. I think Robert Downey Jr. is going to be great. I think the one caveat for this film is Michael Keaton and his character with the Vulture. Depending on how he plays it, that's going to be a big hinging point for me, because if I don't like the villain, it's going to kind of ruin the movie for me. I think it's a major caveat, is how does Michael Keaton play this role? I think he's going to do it very well, but I mean, you never really know.
At least the human element of him. I get the feeling that there's going to be like some side to his human element that's not like his supervillain element, that's like really creepy and really like intimidating. I think that when he's on screen, he's going to be like this intimidating force. Like, he doesn't, like, the feeling I get from him is that he's a creep, is that this guy is like bad news, and this guy is murderous, this guy's a psychopath, but not like in the other movies where like voices in my head kind of psychopath. Like, this guy he gives off this vibe that he has fun doing what he's doing. He loves doing it, that he is a bad villain because he's just bad, not because he's a psycho and needs help or something. Maybe he is like, maybe I guess that does mean he needs help or something. But like, he doesn't come across as somebody that like is just super crazy just because he's crazy. It feels like he might have some backstory and some motive to him.
And I think another great thing about this trailer was that they gave you just enough. So like they didn't give you too much of the story, but they gave you enough to get you interested. But they also left you in the dark about a lot of things. Like we only saw a couple of glimpses of the Vulture. We don't really know exactly, what he's trying to accomplish. We just know what he looks like. We got some of the humor, we got some of the emotion, and we know there's going to be all of those kind of coalescing at the end. But they gave you just enough, and I like that because I hate when trailers give you the whole thing. This gave you barely any of it, but it gave you just enough to be like, wow, that's...
What did you think of the overall design of his actual costume? Because for me, the Vulture's costume I think was perfect. I actually really like it.
Yeah, it looked really cool.
One of the most unique things I've seen.
Yeah, he looked really sick, and I think all the like Tom Holland's, like we said, his costume design was great. The Vulture's was great. I assume that Iron Man's costume or armor is going to be sweet because every iteration of the movie, it's always updated and cooler, and so I assume they'll figure out some new design for that. And I think this movie's going to look visually stunning. I mean, a lot of Marvel movies look very good. I assume the action's going to be great, the humor is going to be good. I think it really just like comes down to Tom Holland and Michael Keaton's interactions, on camera, and if that melds well, and
And to touch on Iron Man real quick, when we saw that quick glimpse, there was something about the armor. I might be wrong. I might have to check back and like really like look at that frame when he's in frame. But it looked like his costume, or at least his Iron Man armor, looked like it originally did during the first Iron Man movies, where it was more that classic kind of Iron Man look from the first two movies.
Which I think I would like. I like that kind of like older, like crimson and almost like a gold kind of coloring.
Yeah, and it was more of that hot rod red and that gold mixed in. But like the overall design, because those are like my real favorite, is that they felt like they weren't like too sleek, because like in these past few movies with Iron Man, like his armor's been like super like sleek and almost kind of like skin tight, if you know what I mean. Like they're very streamlined. But those ones, they felt like very bulky. They felt like, this is a real piece of armor. I have mobility, but at the same time, I'm hindered by the fact that
it always seemed like it moved away from it went from like a suit, or like it went from a piece of armor to a suit for me. It seemed like they transitioned away from like, this is like a heavy piece of armor that will protect me, to like, oh, this is a suit that will help me in combat. And I hope to move back to like, this is armor, like I can take a lot of damage, because I felt like as I moved forward, he would always get like messed up over the smallest thing. Like you got hit by like a missile, and it was like 1,000 feet that way, and it messed up your leg, and now you can't fly anymore. That's always something that happened in the movie. So
yeah, I have always noticed that about it. And like one of the biggest criticisms about these Marvel Cinematic Universe movies is that their villains haven't always been great. Like Loki, I mean, obviously Loki is like the best one, or the most liked one. Red Skull is another one that's actually pretty good. But like, if you think about it, like how many of the villains are actually all that memorable? Like how many of them really got a good backstory? Not really any of them. Ultron could have been really cool. I really like.
What seems to be the issue is that like they will hype up these villains, and then they get a very limited amount of screen time, and then you don't really get much of their backstory. And hopefully they change that with this. And that's why I think it's a caveat, is with how Michael Keaton's character, the Vulture, comes on screen, if he's on there enough, if you get enough of his story, because a lot of times they really do fall short with their villains. You don't get enough of them, and that's like the biggest issue with them, is that like they hype up these villains and then they just sort of beat them in a couple minutes and then it's done. And hopefully there's more struggle with it, because I'd appreciate a longer struggle between the protagonist and the antagonist.
And one of the things I also kind of felt about this trailer, it felt more of a coming of age story rather than an origin story. And I think
especially with the music, the way the music, like the music with the shots, it felt more like a 90s coming of age movie, which I think is an interesting way to take it, because that is kind of what it is that he transitions from a boy to a man, really, with these abilities and learning how to hone them and how to use them the right way. I think that is really like a cool way to take it. I like how it's coming together so far, because I think it's the best canon of this Spider-Man, for sure.
And I also have to comment on the cinematography, because like obviously this movie is being made by Sony. The rights on Spider-Man are like, they have a deal with Marvel to be able to release them and share canon and share characters, but as to who has more creative rights, It's up in the air. They've never really said. Obviously, it kind of feels like maybe Marvel's people are controlling the story and the casting and all that, but like
Yeah.
it feels like every other bit of production seems to be more in control by Sony, and like the camera, the way that the camera moves, it feels different. Like the other Marvel movies, they kind of feel like they don't have the largest scope. They're bombastic,
Yeah.
they're huge movies, they have good story, but like it feels like it's more dialed in. Whereas this movie, like the way that it's shot, the cinematography, it feels a little bit larger, in my opinion.
And which
It
I
feels
like
different.
Like the one thing about Sony movies is they always do have very good cinematography. If you watch through them, like I think they have very good cinematography. Even if the movie sucks, they're always very good at getting the shots correctly, and they always look very nice. And I think that's good for this movie because like when I watched Civil War, it seemed like the shots were always too tight for the action, and like it was too close to you, and you couldn't catch everything that was happening. And I think that maybe this will be good to kind of pan it back a little bit and not get it so tight. Because like if you watch it, it's hard to catch all the action, especially in Civil War, because like it was so tight, and it was like, oh my god, what's happening? Like I don't know. It just like, oh, what just happened? I missed all of that fight scene because it was so fast and close. So I think it was Sony. Then we'll probably get more fluid fight scenes, hopefully, and not so shaky. Remember how shaky it was in Civil War? It was like
it was pretty shaky. I mean, overall, that's Civil War. I fight back and forth between Civil War and Winter Soldier as to which one's my favorite Marvel superhero movie, but in terms of that cinematic universe, but for me it's probably more so Civil War because of like its overall storyline just hit a little bit more because it was
a lot
more
of stuff
personal.
happens. Yeah, a lot of stuff happens in that movie.
This
trailer was great. I mean, so far the two trailers that we've kind of done this for, they've both been very good. They've both been very good trailers, and obviously the Transformers one was surprisingly good. This one was about in tone with most of the Marvel trailers. It was very good, and I'm interested to see it.
It felt different, though. I mean, it felt different in a good way. It felt fresh. It felt like we're getting like a new scope of the Marvel Cinematic Universe instead
I'm really
of like,
excited for this new Spider-Man because this is the third run at it, and I think that
it also feels smaller too, and it feels more focused on the characters because like Vulture, at least of what we've seen, doesn't look like he's out to destroy the world or like destroy Manhattan or something. He looks like a villain that's just like doing bad things, and I feel like that's really good to take it a step back and go for a smaller, more contained story. But so overall, I think this was a very good trailer. I have to say it was a little bit. I like the last night trailer a little bit more because that one felt a little bit more fresh. It felt a little bit better for me. Whereas this one, it kind of held back in a little bit for me. Like I was expecting to show just a little bit more of the scope of the movie. But mainly because the last night trailer was quite a surprise for me. Overall, just to wrap it up, what was your standout moments from this?
The standout moments was the humor was staying consistent, even though it wasn't, completely Marvel. I really liked the way they were taking the character because they kind of flipped the traditional Spider-Man character. They're taking it in a different direction. He seems more eager, and he feels more like a high school student. They never really felt like a high school student, so he felt more like he was in high school. And also the cinematography and like the designs of the characters, the technology that really stood out is that it seemed like this is going to be one of the coolest Spider-Mans that we'll get. It's going to be very awesome. I feel like.
And what would you rate this trailer out of 10?
Probably like 8.5 or a 9. I enjoyed it, but like I've seen a better trailer. The Transformers trailer is still a big surprise. I mean, it's hard to. That's like my new comparison is like, was it as good as this? Because I love that so much. And no, but this was a very good trailer, and I think it was in tone with Marvel trailers. They're always very good.
For me, my biggest standouts out of this were like the interactions with Tony Stark, like the fact that Tony kind of seems like it's a father. He seems like more of a father character, but at the same time, like he's Tony Stark. Like I don't like you think that Peter Parker kind of looks at him like a father, but Tony Stark doesn't even recognize that relationship. He's just kind of
like that's the case, yeah.
And I think
he really looks up to him, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that it's going to be like there's going to be like that kind of wall in there, and like Peter's probably going to want to break that wall during the movie. Is that he wants to get closer to Tony.
Tony Stark doesn't know how to handle that sort of thing. I think I might do that. That'd be very interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah.
The Vulture obviously was a huge standout for me. Like the few lines that Michael Keaton said, and the few shots that we saw of Vulture looked awesome. And the fact that this feels like a coming of age story, it feels like a much more fresh take. It feels lighthearted to an extent, but it feels more personal and a little scaled back from what we're used to.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be something really fresh. I'm really excited to see this movie. Overall, I'm probably going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Mainly because it didn't give me all those key moments I was really looking for. They didn't really show me anything that made me like go on the edge of my seat. But it gave me what I wanted.
Yeah, it didn't blow me back, but it was what I expected. It didn't blow me back. I wasn't surprised. It was pretty much what I expected, but it was still very good. But it wasn't like, wow, that really surprised me. It was like, yeah, this makes sense. There's some interesting changes, but yeah. For the most part, it's pretty consistent.
All right, guys. So thank you for watching our reaction to the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer. You can check it out online. I'm pretty sure it'll be up soon if it's not already, but it probably is. Don't forget to check out our Unfiltered podcast series, Underappreciated series, where we talk about movies that are underappreciated, that deserve a little bit more respect and a little bit more attention. We also have our Box Office and Bigasm series, where we talk about big box office franchises and whether or not they deserve the money that they made, how good they were. And we have a lot of fun with those. Maybe
our next one should be the Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, because those are big budget films, or those are big box office films.
That would actually be a really good one, with Spider-Man 3 being so controversial as it is. We could go over all those movies. So yeah, I'd be definitely up for that. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, thanks guys.